Thank you very much for the invitation to come here and talk to you a little about what SIDA is doing. I will talk a little generally about SIDA, what we're doing, our mandate, what we are, and then specifically on the SDG or the global goals, and also finally talk a little more about our work and support to research, as we are also here today talking about collaboration in some specific areas particularly. SIDA, yes, I'll stand here so you can see where I am in the slides. SIDA is the government agency for bilateral international development cooperation. And we receive around half of the Swedish aid budget to distribute to bilateral partners, but also to global and multilateral partners. So we work together with a range of different partners, Stockholm Environment Institute, for example, which is here today, and also several UN organizations, which have also been mentioned here today. The main objective of SIDA's work is to create opportunities for people living in poverty and under oppression to improve their living conditions. And we have been doing this for a long time, particularly with a focus on poverty, but during the last years also the wording on oppression has become part of the main objectives of our work. And SIDA is governed by a range of documents. Of course, the Swedish Policy for Global Development, which is the entire government's policy for shared responsibilities to contribute to sustainable global development. There is also the Swedish government aid policy framework, which stipulates the modalities for Swedish aid, but also sectors, thematic areas where we should engage with our partners. And environment and climate change is one of the headings in the aid policy framework, and it's also under environment and climate change heading where we will find the more specific thematic areas that we're focusing on here today, like energy, urban development, climate change, adaptation and mitigation, and also ecosystems and biodiversity. SIDA also, or all Swedish agencies, they work with an instruction from the government, and our instruction was revised last summer in 2015, enhancing the objective of our work again, but also including more perspectives that we need to include in all our work that we are doing in all different sectors that we are working. And it's the poverty and rights perspective. It's the perspective of environment and climate change integration. It's gender integration and also the conflict perspective. We are working more and more in conflict areas and in post-conflict countries, so this is even more becoming important for us. SIDA is then, our operational work is guided by strategies which are decided on by the Swedish government. And the strategies, they can be bilateral, for partnering with a specific country, stating the specific modalities, if we can work with the government or if we shall not work with the government, and also stating what thematic areas we can work with, and also the amount of money that we have available for our collaboration with the different countries or at the global level for different thematic specific areas. So on this slide you see the most 20 countries that receive most bilateral aid in 2015, and the lighter blue is the long-term development cooperation and the darker blue is humanitarian assistance, and this is a part of our disbursement that has increased during the last years. So you see Afghanistan is very high, but then we have several countries in Africa, and Africa is a very important continent for our work. But we also work in Africa, Asia, Europe, and Latin America. So in total, we work with 33 different countries in the world. Looking a little at the different thematic areas that we are working in 2014, our disbursements went up to around 19.6 billion Swedish crowns. And as you can see on this slide, it's a very strong focus on democratization and human rights, perspectives of poor people's living conditions and conditions in general for their lives. And energy and urban development would typically be found in the in the area here, sustainable built environment. And since 2014, our energy support has increased, very much due to also our increasing focus on access to energy in Africa through our collaboration with the Power Africa initiative, which you might have heard of. I'll come back to that a little later. Environment is not only a sector in itself, which is up here, but it's also an integrated perspective or aspect of what we do. And in 2014, around 7 billion Swedish crowns were marked with significant or important objectives when it comes to environment in our development cooperation in all our sectors. There's also a special part here on the research collaboration, which is around 4% of the SIDA budget. And I will come back to that as well later on in the presentation. So a couple of words on SIDA and the global goals for sustainable development. We have been following the global process during the progress and also the formulation of the agenda, and have also assisted the Swedish government, which has been the main representative in this process, with information from our work, of course, within SIDA. And in our letter of appropriation for 2016, which is the yearly document that steers all the Swedish agencies, we have we are commissioned to advise the government on the implementation of the agenda, of the Global Goals agenda, and the Addis Ababa Action Agenda on financing, but also on the results of the Paris Agreement during COP21. So this is something that has been strengthened in our work from the government. So we are also to adjust our operations to the global goals and to inform about the global goals and what we do, and also engage other actors in this work. And the SIDA Director General has taken an initiative to create fora for other Swedish Director Generals, for other agencies, Swedish agencies and organizations in Sweden, to meet and discuss the implications of the new agenda and the global goals. Within SIDA, we have now established a specific working group, which is led by the Director General's Office and the Unit for Multilateral Cooperation, to keep together the whole work on the agenda within our organization, and that we inform each other about what is going on and how we can address it in a good way. Only a couple of weeks ago, around 70 Swedish agencies were commissioned by the government to also report to the government on what they do both when it comes to national actions in Sweden, but also when it comes to international actions. And SIDA is, of course, one of these agencies as well. So, when it comes to more specific thematic areas of the global goals, I will talk a little about energy, urban development, and also climate change. And when it comes to energy, which is my area where I mostly work now, we have for a long time been working towards goals that are very much in line with the goal number 7 on energy. So the formulation of the goal as such is not new for us, but it helps us to also talk to others, to have a common understanding of what are the challenges and what can we do with our partners to actually improve the situation with the within the different thematic areas. So when it comes to energy, the 3 goals in energy are increasing access, shortly. Then it is also increasing the use of renewable energies and also improving energy efficiency measures. So when it comes to Africa, our main work is around, of course, increasing access, because it's in Africa and also in parts of Asia where we have most people living without access to electricity, for example, but also using very inefficient and not healthy technologies for cooking, for example, as we heard also Mark was talking about earlier. We have had collaboration within the energy sector in Africa with Tanzania, Mozambique, and Zambia for a long time, but this is now being broadened, and more strategies are opening up for collaboration within the energy sector in Africa, such as Ethiopia, Zimbabwe, Uganda, for example. So this is a work that we will see will be increasing during the coming years. We also work through the Power Africa initiative. We have a very strong focus on renewable energies and try to assist our partner countries with increasing generation capacity from renewable energies in their countries. So with our collaboration with Eastern Europe, our main focus there is on energy efficiency, mostly when it comes to municipal services and district heating. We have also global collaboration with normative institutions such as the World Bank, ESMA program, and others, focusing on energy and gender aspects, for example, like the Energy and Network, which is also a very interesting organization that we work with. When it comes to urban development, this is mostly a collaboration we have with global multilateral organizations like UN Habitat, for example, and we have very little bilateral collaboration within urban development, mostly with Kenya and with the slums in Nairobi, and also with Bangladesh. And the main focus for us when it comes to urban development is on planning of urban areas and also services for poor people like water and sanitation and access to energy and things like that. And SIDA, we work mostly with grant funding, but we have also the possibility to work with development loans where we combine grants with lending from a commercial source, for example, and also to issue guarantees where we share risks with the investors. That could be a private investor, for example, for infrastructure. And this is something that we are to a large extent looking at and working with, specifically within the energy area. I don't know if it's the battery, maybe? Yes. Would you? Okay, thank you. So when it comes to climate change and adapting also to a new climate for poor people, this is extremely difficult. And poor people are also extremely vulnerable to changes in climate, but also due to other situations like conflicts, for example, and war. So we are seeing this more and more in our partner countries. And we are also therefore now working even more with the concept of building resilience. It's a concept, the word resilience has been around for a very long time, but it's not until recently that SIDA has started to adopt the word of resilience and to see what does it mean for us? How can we use resilience in our work, and what does it mean for our partners and for the people that we want to target, the poor people in our partner countries? And so this is a work that is ongoing. It's not only relating to climate change related resilience, of course, but to other aspects, of course, as well in society. But we have established a collaboration with the Global Resilience Partnership together with USAID and the Rockefeller Foundation on seeing how to strengthen resilience building in partner countries. And right now there is a call for proposals for innovations on sustainable development and resilience, focusing on water through this partnership, which I think is highly relevant for this session. No. No, it's the Global Resilience Partnership that is doing that. SIDA is not doing it itself, but we are working in partnership with the GRP and the Rockefeller Foundation and USAID. But the information can be found on SIDA's homepage, so I can send links to anyone that is interested to see and to learn more about this. So I will say a couple of words also about our research collaboration. We have a specific strategy on research collaboration, and it goes from 2015 to 2021. And the main objective of the research collaboration is to strengthen research of high quality and of relevance to poverty reduction and sustainable development. And it means to generate and maintain knowledge and build capacity in our partner countries and in the local context. SIDA is focusing its research collaboration. We are not conducting any research ourselves, but supporting research institutions at the bilateral and also regional and global level. The Swedish Research Council, Vetenskapsrådet, is the Swedish institute since a couple of years back that is managing the funds for Swedish research conducted in Sweden that is relevant for poverty reduction and sustainable development in low-income countries. Yes, next slide, please. So you can take the next three, I think. So the bilateral cooperation focuses mainly on capacity building and to strengthen research systems in the countries where we work. And we have 6 countries, bilateral partners that we work with, and they are Bolivia, Ethiopia, Rwanda, Uganda, Tanzania, and Mozambique. So we work with these countries and with universities and research institutions in these 6 countries. And we want to assist through our research cooperation the institutions to independently improve their abilities to identify research, to prioritize, and also to carry out the research and secure the resources also for the continuous work. And this also includes improved competences in general and strengthened infrastructure also for these institutions. When it comes to the regional and global research, at the regional level, we want to strengthen research in areas that are maybe overlooked or where there is a lack of strength at the bilateral level to complement also, but of course also to link up to bilateral research in countries in the specific region. And when it comes to global research, we work together with knowledge-driven development institutions, like, for example, CGIAR, UN organizations, and others. So there is also the third part of the SIDA research collaboration, which is focusing on innovation and reinforcement of the role of universities in contributing to innovation processes and systems. And this is also work that wants to link research institutions, universities, with other actors such as business, private sector, public authorities, and civil society organizations and others, to come up with and develop innovative ideas to contribute to poverty reduction and sustainable societies. So this is a slide of how much we dispersed to different thematic areas in 2014. And as you can see, natural sciences is dominating. Although there is analysis being made of the research portfolio at the moment, and preliminary conclusion is that when it comes to supporting research within the energy sector, for example, at the regional and global level, SIDA is quite weak. So there is an intention to strengthen our support also to research, specifically when it comes to renewable energies. There are four main principles that are important for Swedish research collaboration. And that is, first, ownership. That the research institutions that we work with, they feel ownership for their work and for the management of their programs, also for securing the sustainability of the programs. And also that the research priorities, what thematic areas, what is needed, depending on also the context, is set by our partners. SIDA, we will not set the priorities for the research programs. We also want to strive towards coordination with other donors. Working together is also very important for us, also in our research collaboration, and particularly when it comes to the bilateral research collaboration. We want to have a long-term engagement, and in some countries we have been engaged in research collaboration for more than 30 years. And all Swedish bilateral development cooperation is delegated to the Swedish embassies, where we have a section on development cooperation. And also the bilateral research cooperation is managed from the Swedish embassies in the countries that we work with, that we partner up with universities or other research institutions. And the research institutions, when they apply to SIDA for support, for partnership, they also team up with Swedish research institutions in a network to also increase the collaboration between Sweden and the research institutions in developing countries. Yes. Finally, I will give an example of a research collaboration that we have had with Tanzania for 30 years. The collaboration with Tanzania is focusing on fish farming, HIV, vaccines, renewable energy. So you see it's a very broad range of thematic areas that Tanzania has decided are important for their context and for their development. And there is also a focus on entrepreneurship and innovation to stimulate entrepreneurship and innovation as a result of the research that is being conducted within the research institutions. And since 2004, 86 doctoral students have completed their research programs, and about 1/3 of them were women. Most of the graduated PhDs and master students are employed as teachers and researchers at the universities, which contributes also to increased institutional research capacity and also for sustainability within the research institutions in Tanzania. And some of the results from this research collaboration have also had effect outside the research institutions as such. So the Tanzania Energy Utility, TANESCO, currently uses isolators for their electricity grids that were developed within the engineering program in the research collaboration. The marine research program has contributed to development of fish farming operations, and they have a 10-folded productivity during 13 years. Microbiological research has led to a mass cultivation of wild mushrooms, and that's the example we see here on the slide. And the number of farmers who grow mushrooms has increased from 0 to 4,000, and which has led to also mushrooms being available to more people all year round. So these are some of the more specific results that the research collaboration has led to. So finally, research collaboration is highly relevant for the implementation of the global goals for sustainable development. And SIDA has initiated a collaboration with the Swedish Research Council, Formas, Forte, and Vinnova to mobilize Swedish research for the sustainability agenda. And there is a meeting planned for this autumn on this matter. I'm not involved myself, but this is information I've got from my colleagues. We have heard during the presentations that the global goals for sustainable development is a universal agenda. They apply to all countries and contexts. And for SIDA, for us, we have a special focus on the poor people and the poor people's needs when it comes to implementing parts of the agenda or the whole agenda. And also, it's very important for us to make sure that no one is left behind, which is also one of the very important statements that have been made in relation to Agenda 2030, and that we also from SIDA want to stress even further. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Ms. Mirjam Palm from SIDA.